Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
We thank the Most High Yahuah for bringing us out to come together in fellowship and commune on another set apart Shabbat. We thank you just for coming out today to be with us and, to fellowship, with one another, your brother and sister in Yahuah. We thank him for what he's done for us all week long. We thank him how he's kept our bodies healed, how he's kept us clothed in our right mind. We thank him how he's protected us from all hurt, harm, and danger. And we just want to give the Father praise for that. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up our service. We're going to have our blowing up the shofar by our Zarzakan, Gabar Yahu, and immediately afterwards, Koti Shema is going to lead us in prayer, and we'll get into our lessons. At this time, we're going to turn and face the east as we begin to pray. You got my scripture from last week? What, the second key? I get next time. So at this time, we'll have the Lord of our Shofar, our chief elders are they can, Gabar Yahu, and afterwards, we're going to have prayer. Hallelujah. What you're reading when it comes to the nation of Yashra'al, it all started back at Bereshit or Genesis. And like I said earlier, how our entire reading and our entire culture was built off of a sacrificial system. That's what starts off in Eden. You have a sacrifice that takes place. You have an atonement that takes place at the very beginning of the book. And also, likewise, you have an atonement that takes place throughout the book till the fulfillment of that comes into fruition. Now, today's lesson is going to require some reading. We're going to do a lot of reading. And we will just get a little more understanding of what's taking place with the nation of Yashra'al and how it's imperative that we understand that the role that Mashiyach Yahusha fulfills is everything to the nation of Yashra'al. And oftentimes we read in the past, we read about all these different offerings, all the sacrifices, and we look at them literally, not knowing that these things were fulfilled by Mashiyach himself. And so when we get into Isaiah, by the time we get to Isaiah 53, it's very important that you know what's going on, because you'll come across several words, and a lot of these words, when we go back and look at the Hebrew, they correlate with not only just one offering, but many offerings. And so we're going to go back and look at these things and get an understanding of what's going on. Because most people, it's hard for them to understand Isaiah 53 because they don't understand the offerings and the fulfillment that Mashiyach, Yahusha comes to play in these things. And so you're looking at one particular offering, the Yashra'al, when actually he's fulfilling several sacrifices, several offerings. But you have to know what's going on. So we're going to do, or we're going to take a look at these things. And let's start off, let's go to Exodus, the 20th chapter, and the 24th verse, and the 29th verse. Exodus or Shemot, 20, verse 24, and verse 29. 22.
The book of Shemot, or Exodus 20, verse 24. An altar of earth you shall make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thy oxen, in all places where I record my name. I will come unto you, and I will bless you.
He said, where should these things be done? An altar. And where should this altar be? Read it again one more time.
Exodus 20, verse 24. An altar of earth.
Altar of earth.
You shall make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings.
Shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings.
And your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen, in all places where I record my name.
In all places where I record my name. How many places did the Most High record his name? And where's that place? Jerusalem. So if we get technical and honest with ourselves, the actual keeping of the moeds, or the moedim, can that be really done here in America? No. In the place where what?
Where he placed his name.
Where he placed his name. Okay, so we're all good on that. That's why when it comes to these things, we commemorate or we remember these things. And it's good that we teach the history to our children and, to our families and loved ones. And we should always keep these things in mind and remember what Yahuah has done for us. So when we look at that, let's look at now, let's go look at one of the offerings that he speaks of. Let's go to I'll tell you what, let me ask you something. What are these things important? What is actually going on with the nation of Yashra'al, and why all of these sacrifices? Why all of these offerings? They committed sin. What sin in particular? Did these offerings, did this sacrificial system that he gave them, or maintenance system, did it come before or after Moses came down off the Sinai? Came down after. So why after? What happened?
Golden calf.
Golden calf?
Idolatry.
Okay, so what happened with the golden calf? What act actually happened? Okay, they started worshiping, but what had taken place by them worshiping the golden calf? What happened prior to them worshiping the golden calf?
They had things that are like, really, you say easily, that Elohim that runs on it.
Right, but I'm saying, but what happened with Israel and Yahuah prior to the golden calf? Had they not entered into a covenant? That was the sin. And what was brought upon Israel as a result of that sin? Death. Okay, y'all talk. Death. By them committing that sin, death came upon Israel. And he was going to kill all of Israel. But Moses interceded. So let's go back to the garden. Did Adam break a covenant?
Yes. What God said.
What happened as a result of that covenant being broken?
He's escorted out of the garden.
Okay, but he didn't just get escorted out of the garden. But what did the Most High tell them was going to happen as a result of disobedience if they did something that he asked them not to do?
That's where it's grown, and sacrifice.
But before they did not tell Adam if they ate of a certain tree, they would surely what? Die. Death as a result of what? Of sin. Or most people said this, well, you can't show where Adam broke the covenant. But yes, we can. Matter of fact, look, get Hosea, the 6th chapter. Let's start at verse 6.
Hosea 6 verse 6. For I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of Elohim more than burnt offerings.
Keep going.
But they like men have transgressed the covenant.
It says, they like men have what? Transgressed the covenant. What do you get when you go look up that word, man? It says, they like Adam, what? Transgressed the covenant. So that was a covenant that Adam had broken. It may not have been a blood covenant, but that was a covenant that Adam had broken. And as a result of breaking that covenant, death came about. Sin brings about what? Death. Look.
So in this instance with Adam, when he said, when they eat from the tree, the consequence was death, is that related to his descending? The
Yeah,
form of Adam?
Yeah, it relates to his descendant and actually dying. Because if Adam had not sinned by listening to his wife or the woman, none of us would be dying.
Exactly.
So what we have now, we have what is called a whole or burnt offering. You also have to realize that offerings can be required, or you have what are called voluntarily a voluntary offering or required offering. Some offerings were free will offerings. Others were required. You had to make these. So we're going to look at these. And we discussed last week, a burnt offering is also called what? What's another name for a burnt offering? And what's the purpose of a burnt offering? Even though it burns, the aroma of the smell is what? It ascends. It ascends. It goes up before the Father. Let's look at Leviticus 1 and 9.
Leviticus 1 verse 9. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah Elohim.
Okay, this offering is to be what? A sweet savor. Unto who? So when we look at this, remember we have what's called a burnt offering or an ascending offering. You're also going to realize that there are 3 different sin offerings. Also keep that in mind. Remember when the Mashiyach spoke to them, he said, "Don't touch me, for I have got yet not what? Ascended where? To the Father." Why did he have to ascend before the Father? Or to the Father? We'll get back to that one. Right, you sacrifice. Let's go to Matthew 3 and 17.
Matthew 3 verse 17. And lo, a voice from Shamayim or heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased."
This is my beloved Son, what? I'm well pleased. Why is he saying that? Say that again now. Okay, then. So now what's taking place at this scene right here? Why is he saying this is my son who I'm well pleased? What's going on here?
But everybody else know that there is son inside.
Yeah, he's letting everybody know. Who is the everybody he's letting know? Yashra'al. Okay, let's go up a few verses before that.
But isn't this when his son ascended up to him?
Yeah, let's read. As a matter of fact, let's go up to verse 1.
Matthew 3 verse 1. In those days came Yahuah or John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea.
In those days came who? John. And what is John getting ready to do? He's fixing to make an announcement, right? Let's read.
Verse 2, and saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of Shamayim, or heaven, is at hand. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of Yahuah, make his path straight. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and a leathern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him Jerusalem and all Judea and all the region round about Jordan, and were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance, and think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you, that Elohim is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Ruach and with fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and gather his wheat unto the garner, but he will burn up the chaff with the unquenchable fire. Then cometh Yahusha from Galilee to Jordan unto John to be baptized of him. But John forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you, and cometh you to me? And Yahusha answered, said unto him, Suffer it to be so. Suffer it for it to be so now, for thus it becometh us to fulfill all, to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. And Yahusha, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the Shamayim, or heavens, were opened unto him, and he saw the Ruach of Elohim descended like a dove, and lightened upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
So, what we have here, now you see the dialogue that John is having. The reason we have to do it, the reason we're discussing Isaiah 53 is for that exact same dialogue. Do you not know how many people try to discount or disqualify what Mashiyach did for the nation of Yashra'al? They go so far to say that Israel is the suffering servant and not Mashiyach Yahusha. And they're doing the exact same thing. How do we know that? Didn't John just say to them, don't say amongst yourself about being Abraham's seed or descendant of children? That's the one trump card Israel has always tried to use, is Abraham. Not knowing that that covenant that he made with Abraham, you still broke the covenant. That's why we emphasized in an early lesson earlier when we first started this series how I showed you how circumcision was attached to the Abrahamic covenant. But then I showed you in the scripture, after that very day that they broke that covenant, when Moses came off of Sinai and they built the golden calf, that entire 40 years they were in the wilderness, guess what they didn't do? Circumcised. They went 40 years without circumcision. But they were yet the children of Abraham. And we know circumcision was attached to the Abrahamic covenant. Why weren't they circumcised? Because the covenant was broken. That covenant didn't do them any more good after then. It was broken. So you can't circumcise to a broken covenant. A covenant that requires circumcision. Now you broke it, the circumcision is useless at that point. It does you no good. So you see now everybody wants to use Abraham as their trump card to bypass and elude and go all the way around Mashiyach. It's very important, and it's imperative that you see and understand what Mashiyach did for the nation of Yashra'al, because Yahuah set this thing up one way. The only way you can get back into covenant relationship with Yahuah the Father, it has to be through his son, Mashiyach Yahusha. Did he not tell you, no man coming to the Father but what? But by me. And if you get in, or you make sure you get in any other way, you'll have a what? A thief. The Father set it up that way. You're not going to bypass or overlook what his son did for you. Mashiyach willingly paid the price for the nation of Yashra'al. Remember now, the only reason we gave these offerings so that they can die in our place, or die in our, instead of us. We were supposed to be the ones that were supposed to be sacrificed and one to be put to death. But he allowed us to have something. He gave us something to stand in our place and die in our stead. Let's take a look at Philippians, the 2nd chapter, the 5th verse through the 11th.
Philippians 2 verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahusha HaMashiach, who being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore Elohim also hath highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Yahushua HaMashiach every knee should bow, of things in heaven, and in things in earth, and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Yahushua HaMashiach is sovereign to the glory of Elohim the Father.
Now, if we look at verse 8, it says, being found in fashion as what? A man. He humbled himself and became what? Obedient unto death. What did the Father want out of the nation of Yashra'al all the time?
Obedience.
Obedience. Did he not say obedience is better than sacrifice? Had they been obedient, there would have been no need for the sacrifice. You said, and became obedient unto death, even the death of, they have written the cross. But we know it was a tree or stake.
Exactly.
It said, wherefore Yahuah also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which is above every name. So what we're looking at here is who's actually making this offering. Because remember, he said, about it what thou hast prepared for me. So Yahuah is actually taking his son and he's presenting him on behalf of who? The nation of Yashra'al. We know the Father's doing this because of the prayers of his son. What did he say? Yahuah, Yahuah, why hast thou what? Why hast thou forsaken me? We know that from Abraham and Isaac. Abraham did what? He took his what? His only son. And he willfully was going to give his son.